Okay, so on this problem, we've got two equal fractions. Let me bring them over here. X plus 1, 5. 2 over x minus 2. Okay. So what do we do when we have two equal fractions? Well, two equal fractions called a proportion. This is called a proportion when you just have two equal fractions. Portion. What do you do in that situation? Well, step one is you cross multiply instead of LCD over 1. I'll just write same as LCD, because you might be thinking, isn't that what we normally do? LCD over 1? Yeah, that's what we normally do. But you just go, let's take this and this you multiply, and then this and this you multiply. So then we get x plus 1 times x minus 2 equals 2 times 5. So just diagonal goes on one side, diagonal goes on the other. It doesn't matter which side, left or right, whatever. Just do one diagonal on one side, one diagonal on the other. That's called cross multiplying. Notice how I said it's the same as LCD over 1, because you hopefully are well focused that normally when we have fractions with an equal sign, we do LCD over 1. You see, if I did LCD over 1, that it would actually be exactly the same result, right? What's the LCD? Well, we have 5 and x minus 2, so it'd be 5 x minus 2 over 1. 5 x minus 2 over 1. I just want to show you it'd be the same. The 5s would cancel, and what would we have? X minus 2, x plus 1, which is what we have. The x, over here, the x minus 2s would cancel. What we'd have? 2 times 5, which is what we have. You see, it's exactly the same. I just want to show you it's exactly the same. So let me back that up. Hope I didn't confuse you by that. We're not going to actually do that. I just want you to see that it's the same as if we did LCD over 1. It's just a quick version when you just have one fraction on each side. You can just go diagonal, diagonal. All right. On with the problem. So what do we do now? Well, we got to multiply, huh? This is x squared minus 2x, boom, boom, plus 1x minus 2, and this is 10. Okay, let me put in the wall of separation here. So we're still going on with this problem. So now what are we going to do? Well, we have, we're going to combine. How about we combine? How about we combine those guys right there? So what do we got here? X squared, so minus 2x plus 1x is minus 1x, isn't it? Minus 2 equals 10. Good to there, right? We just combine those. Minus 2x plus 1x is minus 1x. Okay, now what? We got an x squared. It's kind of been a long time since we've done anything with x squared. I don't know if you remember what we do. Let me remind you. So when we have x squared with an equal sign, which we now have all of a sudden, we have an x squared, we have an equal sign. What do you do with that? First, get 0 on one side. So you got it. So I'm going to go minus 10, minus 10. Why am I doing that? Because I want to make this, boom, boom, 0. So bring it down. What is this? Minus 2, this is minus 12. Okay, so first step, get a 0 on one side. Do you remember any of this? You might be thinking, no, it's been months. Second, factor, like with the 2 parentheses. So now I'm going to go, oh, yeah, the 2 parenthesis kind of thing here. In fact, let me just change the color for clarity just to see it. So like that. And we're saying, okay, what multiplies to be x squared? X times x. What multiplies to be 12? 4 times 3 or 3 times 4. It could be 2 and 6. But remember, the middle is add. Remember, multiply, add, multiply. And the sign in the middle goes where? Onto the bigger. And there it is, right? Minus 4 plus 3 makes minus. They add to be minus 1 in the middle. And they multiply to be negative 12, don't they? Okay. And then what do we do? And then the third step, factor. And the third step is each part equals 0 and solve. Remember that? Remember how we said each part equals 0? we take just the x minus 4 and say you're 0, and then just the x plus 3 and say you're 0, right? Each part separately gets their own separate equal 0. So, well, how can we do that? Remember the logic? If two things are multiplying to equal 0, what does that mean? If I said, hey guys and gals, I'm thinking of two numbers in my head and I'm timesing them and it's coming out 0. What's in my head? One of them's got to be 0. The first one could be 0 or the second, right? The only way you're going to multiply two things and get it to equal 0 is if either the first one is 0 or if the second one is 0, right? That's just reasonable, isn't it? And so then that's why we can set each one to 0 because they see the parentheses, they are timesing each other to equal 0. So then add 4 to both sides. And over here, subtract, I'm scribbling, subtract 3 from both sides. And this cancels, and we get x is 4, this cancels, or -3. So we got two answers. There's two answers. See how I finished this up? Just added 4 to both sides and subtracted 3 from both sides. So the answers are 4 or -3. We got two answers. So coming up here, they say they want both answers. So you just type in 4, -3. The order doesn't matter. You put the -3 first, then the 4. It just says put a comma, right? Separate with commas if there's more than one solution. Right? So we click this box and say 4, -3 or -3, 4. It doesn't matter. Now let's run through that again. What happened there? When you have two equal fractions called a proportion, you could just cross multiply. It's the same thing as LCD over 1, just quicker and easier when you just have two fractions. And then over here, you got to multiply this out. Here you got a 10. Then, and then when we see x squared, that's the new, well, it's not new. We had it a couple months ago, but it's a good reminder. What do you do when you have x squared? You got to get a 0 on one side, and then you factor the other side with parentheses and multiply, add, multiply. And then each part, it gets their own equal 0 because the two things are multiplying to equal 0. The first one could be 0 or the second, and you just solve them both. 4 and -3 are both answers to that problem. And there we go.